My name is Michael Williams, founder and speech coach here at Pro90D. Have you ever had a presentation, interview, meeting, even a social event where you felt nervous or anxious? Now, I know virtually everyone has to say yes because there are some situations and circumstances that we find ourselves in, be it a presentation, interview, meeting, where we're going to feel a little anxious and nervous. And that may depend on who's there, how many people's there, what the stakes are, right? So I think most of us would have to raise our hand and say, yes, this has happened to me. Now, here's my second and follow up question. Have you ever thought or felt that because you felt nervous or anxious, your performance was going to be affected? That is, you wouldn't be able to speak as well. You wouldn't be able to clearly and confidently articulate your thoughts. Have you ever felt that or thought that? Have you ever experienced that where because you felt nervous or anxious, you didn't perform well? Well, if so, I want you to watch this video. This video is actually in response to a client of mine. I wanted to address a situation that this client had. And I know that it's a situation that all of us have had and probably will have. And I will share with you a very recent experience just a couple of days ago from the recording of this video. So let's frame this. Let's just say that you're there and you have a presentation, you have an interview, you have a meeting, and you start feeling a little anxious or nervous about it. And so what tends to happen is most people start thinking this is going to affect my performance. I may not be able to perform as well as I'd like to. So then they start to worry about the fact that they're worried or they're anxious or they're nervous. They start to worry about their performance. And so this becomes not only a thought in the moment, not only a set of feelings and emotions, but it also becomes a belief, especially if it becomes true, especially if it's true for you, that I felt nervous, felt anxious, and I didn't perform well. So you link these two together and you say, whenever I feel nervous or anxious, generally speaking, I don't perform as well as I should. So what I want to do in this video is give you 2 or 3 things to keep in mind to help you overcome this belief because it's actually a false belief, believe it or not. Number one, you want to tell yourself that just because I may feel a certain way, it doesn't have to affect my performance. So just because I may feel nervous or anxious, it doesn't mean I'm not going to perform well. So we can put that another way. Even if I feel nervous or anxious, I can still perform well. Even if I feel nervous or anxious, I can still perform well. Now, this has happened to me many times where I felt nervous or anxious, but I still performed extremely well. Again, I'll give you a recent example a little later. So, keeping this in mind and telling yourself this, even if I feel nervous or anxious, I can still perform well. In fact, I can perform extremely well, right? I can perform extremely well, even if I feel nervous or anxious. So what you're doing there is you're beginning to change your beliefs about your particular situation, about your emotions, and about the impact and control your emotions have over your performance, right? Now, the second thing that I want you to remember, and this is something that you can actually do, is you can reframe how you're feeling, right? You can say, I'm feeling excited about this. I'm actually looking forward to this. I have a lot of energy around doing whatever this is, around this meeting. I feel energetic. I feel kind of hyped up about this. So, what you're doing is you're putting another frame on, you're reframing, and you can look that up if you want, but most of you probably know this anyway. You're reframing this set of feelings, anxiousness, nervousness, which can drain you, can distract you. You're reframing the feelings and you're saying, wow, I feel excited. I feel energetic. I feel enthusiastic. I feel positive. I'm looking forward to this. So you're reframing the feelings because they feel very, very similar, if not the same. But the difference is when you reframe it this way, when you say, I feel excited, enthusiastic about it, it has potential and generally will give you energy. It'll give you energy. It'll give you focus. You'll have greater impact with your audience or with whoever you're speaking with when you reframe it that way. If you continue to think and believe that I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling nervous, even if you don't say that, but you're feeling it and you feel like, oh my God, this is going to distract me or this is going to take away from my performance. Now you may not use those words, you just feel like I'm going to screw up, I'm going to get clouding, I'm going to start stumbling over myself. I'm going to start rushing, speaking too fast. I'm not going to perform as well as I know I could if I felt more relaxed and calm. But here's the thing. You're not always going to be able to feel relaxed and calm in certain speaking situations. Now, here's my example. Just a couple of days ago, I was invited to attend a local chamber of commerce as a visitor. Now, I used to be a member several years ago, but since COVID stopped, my entire business is online, 100% of it. So I don't go out and do a lot of physical networking, nor do I go out and do a lot of speaking because everything that I do is focused online. Now, I'd like to, and I will go out and do more speaking. So in this networking session, each person was invited to come up and just introduce themselves, who you are, what you do, what kind of business you're looking for. So when it started to get close to my turn, I felt myself feeling what you might consider a little anxious or nervous, a little anxious or nervous. And I didn't necessarily in that moment reframe it. And here's why. I didn't need to, because I reminded myself that thousands, if not tens of thousands of times in the past, I've introduced myself, I've done presentations, I've done workshops, done live TV, live radio, everything. And so I know that even though I might feel a little nervous and anxious, right, I can still perform extremely well, still perform well. So I immediately stopped thinking about how I felt. So that's the next thing that I want you to remember is to become more present in the moment. So what did I do? Simply started to pay more attention to the person that was speaking. I started to listen to what they did and kind of business they had and so forth and so on. So I started to be more present. But I did also use some of that time before it was my to think about what I wanted to say. So here's the next thing. I started to think about how my comments could serve, could help, could somehow be a blessing to the people with whom I was speaking, right? This is a mental shift. So instead of thinking about, allowing myself to think about how I was feeling in the moment, and I was feeling a bit nervous and anxious. Why? Because I hadn't done any public speaking in, I don't know, a handful of years. I love doing it. I can do it well, hadn't done it. So it's normal that I would feel, and I remind myself, it's normal that you would feel this way. You haven't been out there doing it, even though you love it. So I reminded myself of that. And then I kept thinking about what is it that you want to say that will help people remember you, remember what they do, and how you can help them. And I thought, well, maybe I'll start out with a question after I give my name. I don't have to give a question, but maybe I will. And then I thought, okay, I'll do that. And then I'll let people know how I can help them with their communication skills, especially if they need to use video. So I thought about this, said, okay. And then I came back to the present moment and just continued to listen. And then maybe I took a few seconds to go back and kind of go over that again. Okay, I'll ask a question about this, and then I'll talk about that. And then I came back to the present moment. And what did I do? There's something that you've heard me talk about. You'll hear me talk about this a lot because it's very, very important in terms of managing your feelings in the moment. And that is VIC and RIC. And I'm just going to go through this quickly because it's in our course and you'll see it and hear it in our workshops and also in our virtual speech masters club. We talked about VIC and RIC, and it's kind of a mental tool that you can use to keep yourself focused, keep yourself energetic and enthusiastic, and to allow you to think clearly, to even relax yourself down, and to perform well in the moment. And so the V stands for value, and the R stands for relevancy in Vic and Rick. So notice I started thinking about immediately what can I say that's going to be valuable and relevant to this audience. So instead of allowing myself to think about something negative, to worry about my feelings, think about it, what they might be thinking of me, what if I mess up? I just started thinking about what can I say that's going to be valuable and relevant. Then next, I just thought about, okay, make sure that you speak in a way where you hold their attention. And I want to say something about that in just a moment. How can I speak in a way that holds their attention? I don't want to speak too fast. I don't want to speak too slow. I want to speak with enthusiasm, modulate my voice when I use body language, good eye contact. There's a microphone, which I usually don't like to use, so I had to use the mic. Again, I'll say something about that in just a moment. And then the third thing I thought about was clarity. How can I make sure that I'm enunciating, that I'm articulating my thoughts clearly? Again, not speaking too fast, speaking in a way that they can follow what I've said, logically organized. I only had a couple of minutes. So let's go back to the style. into the microphone thing. So because I don't like to use microphones, and I usually don't use microphones, I either project my voice or I'll have something that's wireless. I had to use the microphone. And so I told myself that I needed to have that microphone closer to my mouth, right? Closer to my mouth so that I didn't have to speak very loud because everyone was using the microphone. So I didn't want to get up and not use it. But what I found is that I started to drop that microphone down and my voice wasn't as loud as I would have liked. Now, everyone heard me fine, but I knew, wow, my voice could have been a little louder or I could have positioned the microphone better. I also noticed that I was speaking a little faster than what I was like, than what I would have liked. Now, I wasn't speaking too fast, just faster than what I would have liked. So I gave myself that feedback, but I said, hey, you haven't been out public speaking in years. You love to do it. You can do it well. In fact, someone said, you did very well. I said, well, thank you, but I know I could have done a little better, especially if I was doing it more. So my point is that if you haven't been doing something a lot, you can still do it well and you can still give yourself feedback, but you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to get anxious about it. All you really need to focus on is no matter how I'm feeling, I can still speak well, especially if I'm focused on giving them value, giving them something that's relevant. And I'm speaking in a way where I'm holding their attention. So I used hand gestures. I made eye contact, smiled, right? Modulated my voice, so forth. And it was pretty clear what I was saying, right? Just didn't talk about a whole bunch, just talked about a few things. All of that could have been better. And the more that I speak in public, the better it will be. But what I had to rely upon were decades and decades and tens of thousands of hours of experience so that I could remind myself, hey, you're going to do well no matter how you feel. So, how does this impact you? Well, if you're going through our Pro 90D Smooth Speech System, we have a systematic and science based way for you to immediately transform your speech so that you can immediately begin to speak smoother, to speak more clearly, to feel calmer, to feel more relaxed, to be more confident. But even if you don't immediately or initially feel as relaxed and calm as you want, you can be confident to know that you can still speak well. You can still speak well. You can still perform well. So I want to wrap this up and summarize by saying, remember, your feelings do not have to control your performance. Just remember that. Doesn't matter how you feel in the moment, you can still perform well. Number two, you can reframe how you're feeling, right? You can reframe how you're feeling. You can say, I feel excited, I feel energetic. This is great. I'm looking forward. But even if you didn't do that, as long as you know that the way that you feel doesn't have to control your performance, how you speak. The third thing is to remind yourself of Rick and Vic. Rick and Vic. If you shift your focus to providing value, to being relevant to your audience or to the person that you're speaking with, to holding their attention, to making sure that what you're saying is as clear as it possibly can be. Shift your focus to that. You will find that you simply don't have the mental space or capacity to worry about your performance, about your speech, about messing up, about how you feel. You don't have the mental capacity to do that because all your focus is on what? Is on providing values, on being relevant, it's on holding their attention, it's on being clear, it's on serving your audience. An audience of one, it's on serving that person. It's also on being present. So we can make that number four if we wanted. Being present. Empty your mind, be present, soak in what's going on around you. Listen to what other people are saying. Don't allow yourself to get distracted with negative thoughts. If you do think of something, take a few moments to think about Rick and Vic, then come back to the present moment. So you're going to be in the present, or if you need to, you can go and just think about Vic and Rick and then come back to the present. Don't even spend a whole bunch of time doing that in the moment. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. This is absolutely true. This will absolutely work for you. This isn't theory. This isn't just my experience. Millions and millions of people have experienced this. I've taught tens of thousands of people, and when people do this, it works. Okay. So thank you so much. My name is Michael Williams. I want to encourage you to like this video, share this video wherever you're watching it. And we want to encourage you to consider a couple things. Number one, consider our Pro 90D Virtual Smooth Speech Masters Club. And that is a club that meets once a week virtually where we help you use what you're learning under pressure in a supportive environment and an environment where we provide you with feedback. So you get real time feedback. So you can actually experience yourself improving from week to week, just like many of our members do. The second thing that I want you to consider is if you have an interview or a presentation coming up, or even a social event, and you want to feel more relaxed, you want to feel more calm, you want to be more confident, you want to speak smoother. That is, you want to be able to say what you want. You don't want your emotions to control you, right, and to mess up your performance. You may want to consider working with me privately. That's the fastest way to accelerate the process to get you to where you want. There's something about working with someone who can see your blind spots, know things that you and I simply don't know, right? They can see things that we're not going to see on our own. They can help us stay accountable. They can keep us encouraged, keep us from quitting. There's something about that that accelerates this process. And so I've seen it accelerated by 10 times. That is, I see people get to their goals 10 times faster than they would working on their own. Don't wait until you have an interview scheduled and then say, uh-oh, I need to work on my speech, because it may be too late for that interview. Don't wait until you have a big presentation coming up or a very, very important meeting. These things affecting your career, affecting your personal life. People are watching you, they're observing you. And I'm going to be doing a series of videos, topic related to this, but major companies are laying off tens of thousands of people. You want to be competitive just in case that happens to you. When you improve and you transform your communication skills, especially your speech, you become more competitive. You have a competitive edge. If you don't, then even in your current job, people are watching who are the people who's going to get cut or laid off first. Who are the people who, when they interview, are going to get those few jobs that are still left over? The people who are able to communicate well, to speak well. So we'll be getting more into that, and I'll be giving you some very specific steps and strategies that are practical, things that you can implement right now in the next series of videos, and we'll probably have a couple of webinars around. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I look forward to serving you soon.